Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Wrestling. As by joined by Tim. Hi, Tim. How you doing, mate?
Hi, Lee. I'm very hot at the moment, but other than that, pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, exactly the same. We've had an interesting week in wrestling this week. So, couple of injuries, a couple of qualifying matches, a couple of unexpected things. So, let's head back to Raw last Monday. And how did the show open?
Yeah, okay. So the show opened up with Liv Morgan calling out Io Sky for the world title. I think this was, at the time, sounded like a good program. I was looking forward to it, especially with the way in which the Queen of the Ring is shaping up. However, and I'll mention it now, Liv Morgan did injure herself against Kairi Sane, and it happened literally within 30 seconds of the match. It was a complete accident, nothing you could say about it. But I think that might have an impact on where we go with the women's division in the short term.
Yeah, I just felt really sorry for him because, like you said, she's cutting that promo and it looked like he was heading down that direction. And then, as fate would have it, within 30 seconds of her match, she's out. And it looks like she could be out for up to 6 months.
Yeah, I've heard dislocated shoulders can take up to 16 weeks if they're really bad. But whatever happens, she's been one of the stars of the show on Raw, and the program is definitely going to miss her in that short time. I think you've got to look at this at two ways. Either because it's a dislocated shoulder, whether you just strap it up for a couple of weeks and just keep her on television, or do you keep her out until probably the Rumble, where she's almost certainly going to get the biggest pop of the night. You and I have spoken about the fact that she seems to be more and more becoming a face as the weeks go along. If she comes back at the Rumble, she's almost certainly going to be like the biggest face on the company.
I think doing that is the best shot because I think if you leave on TV, when she does return, it ain't going to be as big of an impact because we've seen her week in, week out. But if you want that ultimate face turn, I think the best way, like you said, just save her to the Rumble now.
Don't know, because I think I don't think it's always necessarily her wrestling that gets her over so much. It's her character development, and she can still do that with an injury. So I think either way works for me.
The opening segment that led on to
the final women's 4 quarters match. But what I will say is it was brilliant and the right person won. I like to say again, Stephanie Valkyrie seems to be really high on their list. She's getting in a lot of shots. She's looking really good. And they protected her for the finish with Raquel Rodriguez looking like she'd beaten her with I think it's Tijuana Bomb, which is the chokeslam power bomb combination. And then Rhea coming out and assisting. But Asuka won, and I think that was the right decision. My only concern with Asuka is her finish isn't. I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, the Empress Impact, they've named it, but it's just a running bum to the face, and I don't understand it either.
It's a hip attack. Everyone's doing hip attacks. The difference is it's in the center of the ring. I'm not a big fan. Other than that, I thought she looked great.
Yeah, especially for the amount of time she's been out of the ring. Didn't really seem like there was much ring rust. She didn't miss a beat, really. So, yeah, I'm happy with her return. Because of the way they brought her back, I think she's going to be Queen of the Ring, which I'm not too happy about, but it is what it is.
I think I'm with you, especially when we talk about SmackDown. I think she's going to be the Queen of the Ring, and I don't have a problem with her. I quite enjoy her as a wrestler. What happened next, again, links into the whole Liv Morgan situation, is the Judgment Day are slowly starting to crumble further and further. This breakup's been on the cards for well over 6 months. I think we're due for it any time. And now with Liv gone, it would certainly be the right idea for me. With Finn like playing puppet master and pulling all the strings.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a shame because I do like the Judgment Day. I think they've got good chemistry together, and some of their backstage segments are there for the comic value. So obviously, when that goes, that'd be a bit missed. But yeah, I totally agree. It's time to happen.
We had the AJ Styles match, which included the Judgment Day against JD McDonough.
Yeah.
Both guys are really good, really things. But I also want to say, I think AJ is going to take the belt off Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah, and I think it was a great match. And even though AJ's getting older, he just seems to keep getting better and better. I love an AJ Styles match.
Oh yeah, so do I. I absolutely, I can't wait for that. I also think that's the way in which you can protect Finn Balor's needed face turn, because I think that's got to be the match down the line. I think you've got to have that for the IC title on a big brand. So that would be your SmackDown, your SummerSlam match. But I like what they're doing with AJ. He looked strong. He was solid. He gave JD enough to make it feel like there was a little bit of jeopardy, but overall, it was the quick Styles clash that did it for me. What I think was really good afterwards was the fact that Finn and Dominic then came down and it became a 3-on-1 against AJ. And I thought, oh, the babyface is going to take a bit of a beating. And instead, what happened was AJ slides out the ring with the Intercontinental Championship and outsmarts him. And I thought, yes, about time. We need some good, solid baby faces that aren't stupid enough to keep taking a beating. In between those moments, though, was the big Raw talking point. And I'm going to say it's the big Raw talking point because Goldberg returned. His walk to the ring, he looked like he was blowing up just walking to the ring. And that is a concern for me.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of Goldberg. I didn't really see him much in WCW because I never used to channel hop, so I was quite loyal to WWE, the Attitude Area, because I was a kid, and I'd just catch up bits and bobs with WCW. I didn't like his presentation when they brought him over to WWE or whatever, so I've never been a great fan. So I sort of knew this was coming from the rumours over the last couple of weeks and how they tried to set it up last year. I weren't a fan of it happening, and as soon as Gunther won the title, I knew, right, that's the direction they're heading. I really just hope this is his retirement match and not his retirement run, because I think if he's going to go on a run, he's winning that title.
I actually think he's going to have two matches, if I'm honest. I think he's going to have a solid match with Gunther at main event, and then probably his final match will be SummerSlam against like an Austin Theory or Grayson Waller squash match, 2 or 3 minutes, done, dusted. That's how you end with Goldberg. My biggest worry for the main event match is the match is going to last over 8 minutes, and it doesn't need to. Goldberg has to show all of his hits, but Gunther's essentially got to cheat to win, so he gets the heat. Other than that, I think you'd be making a mistake.
Yeah, see the only good thing, Gunther's style slow and hard, so that can sort Goldberg at his age, so that can sort of carry him through the match. But I'm like you, I think it might go on a bit longer.
I think he's going to win the title. We've had the Vince McMahon treatment of Goldberg, where he comes in, he squashes a guy, and then we go from there. That's if they were going to do that, they'd have done it at Crown Jewels. I think the fact that they're doing it at Atlanta, where we'll get big pops, where we'll get all the fanfare, I think he's going to lose. And that's why I say I think it's going to be a cheat. It's going to be a little bit of a dusty finish. And I think that's how you protect him and Gunther in the long term.
Do you reckon Jay will get in the mix just because of Gunther beat him? Maybe to make it clunky. I don't know. I'm just thinking of things.
No, I don't think Jay. I think he's just going to cheat, whether it's like a tights, grabbing the tights, roll up, whether he knocks him out with the belt shot or something like that. The only way in which you could protect that is if Goldberg's son comes down afterwards, and I'm not sure I want that.
I think nostalgically for people, it's a good thing. It's obviously good for Bill to have his little sort of farewell properly and on his terms, but yeah, I'm not excited for it at all, really.
You know, I think they'd have made a bigger fanfare had it not have been John Cena's farewell tour.
Exactly. I think that's the issue you've got this year. No matter what you're doing, John's gonna override it. So it's the wrong year to sort of say your goodbyes, I think.
but it's the right time to do it for Goldberg. Get it out of the way, done, and then he can come on and make like appearances when he needs to spear somebody and make a point. That's all he's got to do now. As I said, 8 minutes, and I'd be all right with that.
And then after the Goldberg bit, we had
Becky and Bayley. Now,
interesting. This was.
Yes, I liked it. Well, no, that's not. I like both women. I think both women are at the top of their game. They're going to elevate this belt to the next level where it should be. This is the match I really want to see. However, I think they missed the mark with their promo this week.
It made me laugh because it goes back to our episode about the titles, and I said they need to elevate the women's. It don't matter, and you was like, no, they're going to do it in the Intercontinental route. That's exactly what they're doing. What you said. So it was making me laugh what was happening because, like, Tim said all this about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, it did. I could see their road plan. I think Bayley's also got to win that match as well.
Oh, 100%. And I think it'll not help Becky's character, but it will help elevate Becky as a heel and Bayley as a face if Bayley wins that, because then Becky will go back chasing as the heel, Moni and all that stuff. So, yeah, I agree with you. Weren't their best work together, but it's an interesting prospect. And it's interesting they're doing it with the IC women's title and not the championship. So, yeah.
I think it's going to be probably one of the best matches on the night. I'm not even going to argue with that. I think they are going to steal the show. It's just that one promo just didn't click with me enough. And I have no doubt that both women will smash it out of the park.
That was...
we had the weird interaction between Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. And I question, are they looking to turn Lyra heel? And if they are, that's a big mistake. That is a huge mistake as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, because they sort of had a team with Becky, and then Becky turned on her. So why didn't turn her? Like, I think she's starting to slot in well as a face. And if they're heading down that route, because the Bayley's back, yeah, I think that would be a mistake as well.
I think after that, we obviously had the Kyrie match, the Kyrie and Liv match, which, as we've spoken about before.
Yep.
What I did see after that was an absolutely amazing interaction between Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross, and it makes me excited for a program that could elevate both of them to the next level.
I said this last week about Sami. Sami needs that big push, and I think Karrion Kross is a good character for Sami to. We can get into some real interesting situations. It could get a little bit dark as well, which for an adult viewer is nice to see. They pull the trigger on it. Really, really good.
But they've got to pull the right trigger. Don't just go half-cocked and hope that they can work with it. Because I do believe they both would be able to work. What I think they need to do is just give it more time. I know we've had these 2 or 3 minute segments every other week or something with them. Just slowly start to introduce into this. I thought it might have played a part in SmackDown's match, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think we're going to see something on Raw.
Yeah. And I think that's the only problem with the way they've had to do it over the last couple of months, because they sort of had to interbrand to get the matches going and all that. They need to start going back to the Raw brand, SmackDown brand, not bringing across. So the fact that Sami was then on SmackDown, if you brought Karrion over, then that still intertwines and it gets a bit confusing. So I think they need to start going back to brand, if you know what I mean.
I'm hoping that happens after King of the Ring. I really do.
Yeah. Just until John goes and we have the one champ, like I said last week.
We did actually finish on the men's 4-way. Yes, final 4-way for a while. I hope. And I wrote my notes. My notes just say Jay is still over. I don't know whether they're trying to push him down a little bit, but he's got to be the loudest pop of the evening on Raw, without a doubt.
100%. He does remind me a lot of Bryan Daniels' character with the Yes Movement. No matter how much WWE, if they do try and push him down, it's not happening. Unless he really mucks up, it's not happening. He is the people's champ.
Absolutely agree. So, as we said last week, I don't think they should make him a tag team for a while. SmackDown showed there's a possible route around that, but I think he's still there. And until that popularity goes, I still keep him going with it. My worry for him is if he gets, as again with the Logan Paul match, it felt clunky. It didn't feel as good. If he's got a good opponent, I think he'll look like $1 million, and that's where his main event will be. I think where you're going to look for him though is he's going to be that upper mid card around the title shot. Probably not going to get there, but is going to have a good program wherever you put him.
Yeah, I think they're going to need to put him there again at some point because the way he's over, if he doesn't win a title again this year, people are going to riot, I think. So overall, what did you think of Raw this week?
It was a solid program. I think we're slowly getting better. I think the Liv Morgan injury played a part in some of the issues that the program had. And as I said, there were a couple of swing and misses. But I think we've got enough stories coming out of Night of Champions, which for me is the important part.
And then moving on to SmackDown. And I already know you're going to think this was a great show because of the amount of single matches that you've been begging for. But where did it all start?
Look, firstly, thank you, WWE. Thank you. And that's not just for the singles matches. It's because we've actually got stories and so many good stories coming out of it. I'm really excited. But SmackDown started off with everyone's favourite, LA Knight.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lee. And his ongoing feud with Seth Rollins. And I watched this thinking, I didn't expect this. I think this is a great program. If you want to hold Seth off from a cash-in for a while, this program is brilliant.
I thought, what's the point when I first watched it? I get it with the overall story of the night, but I get to that bit as well. But I felt it went on a little bit too long, and the fact that they did bring Seth out and it was Paul, and I love Paul, but I just felt it was 5 minutes more than it needed to be.
So for me, if the show wasn't 3 hours, then I think you need to cut that promo down spectacularly. But because it's 3 hours, you've got to fill so much TV time. And promos are a big thing about this SmackDown. I didn't have a problem with the length. I think it worked because it was a 3 hour show.
And do you think they handled it well with not having Seth there?
It worked really well. I think that keeps the illusion that Seth is some big master manipulator and he'll appear when he wants to appear, not when others call him out, which is exactly what LA Knight did. And the response that we got was what I would expect. I want to see this match, and I can see probably LA Knight, Seth Rollins match at SummerSlam, which makes sense as far as I'm concerned. And then you go from there. I mean, let's say hypothetically, Seth loses to LA Knight, because LA Knight does need some wins at some point. And then Seth cashes in afterwards. LA Knight, you've protected LA Knight, and you've also protected Seth. So for me, I think the program works.
Yeah, no, I agree because I think, as LA Knight said, going back and forth with Baker and Reed, like screwing him over, him screwing them over, I'm just going to go for the person in charge and calling Seth, and that sort of come out of nowhere. So I thought that was a great way to try and handle the group. Again, they made him look strong because when Baker and Reed come out for the attack, he would have got the chair to equalise, so it's still him on his own, taking on whatever we're calling this faction. Was followed up with a backstage segment to make Reed versus Knight later on in the night. Led on to the first Queen of the Win semi-final. So who was that in that one?
That was Asuka versus Alexa Bliss. And what a great match. I mean, I love both of these wrestlers. They are brilliant talent. They told a great story. I wasn't sure. I didn't know how you were going to finish that match. I was like, how do you get past one of them losing who haven't been back long, certainly with Alexa's point, and Asuka's only been back a week. How do you get past one of them only going out so early? So I was like, how are they going to do it? I think they did it justice. And not only that, it was a really clean finish.
Surprised with how long, when, or it might have been camera work, but when Alexa was umming and erring about doing her move off the top rope because she thinks Asuka was playing possum, because the camera just stared on Alexa and didn't show Asuka on the ring, it looked a bit, she's just standing up there.
I think they're going to play on this over the coming weeks. I think this is actually going to be a storyline rather than just anything else. I think this is how you lead into developing Bliss's character further.
A clean finish with Asuka's Emperor Impact, our new favourite move. Again, yeah, the move itself, why? But like I said, it was nice to have a clean finish and not a DQ or anything like that. So yeah, love Bliss. So wasn't too happy that Asuka went through, but as I said, because of Asuka's return, as I said earlier on, she's winning the tournament.
I think she's going to win the tournament, but she's going to beat some very competent women to get there. And I think that just shows how strong she is.
And after that, we had Jade's reaction. And in a way, I felt like Jade was looking past Monday because she was more focused on saying that the tournament's for established people, not the future, and she's the storm coming for Asuka. That sort of promo to me should have come after Monday's match because I believe Jade's going to win, so it's going to be Jade Asuka final.
I was with you until Liv got injured, and now I think they might switch it round so that Roxanne Perez is in that position. But I understand what you're saying, Jade, but Jade's presentation is that she's very confident, and I think that promo showed her confidence through it. I like that she's also aligning herself with Michin and BFAB. I like that they're getting minutes on the screen because they look good as a trio.
And they went off to talk about a tag team title opportunity. That never got more into as the night went on, but it still planted that seed. And I think that's a good little seed to plant. And like you said, it's a good little alliance to have. So after that, again, there's lots of backstage segments. So after that was backstage with Bliss and Chelsea Green with the Secret Service. Chelsea was obviously moaning about Bliss last week, and then Charlotte comes on the screen and basically says, "Don't need your help."
Saw Chelsea and Alexa Bliss interacting. I was like, okay, right. This looks like an interesting program. I quite like the way in which we're going. And then when Charlotte was added, I was even more intrigued. And I'm like, okay, maybe we're testing the water. And then it's obviously the Chelsea versus Charlotte match later. And we'll talk about that later.
After that little backstage segment, we had Kid Wilson, who was meant to take on Aleister Black. Now, this was a bit weird because obviously Truth attacked Kid Wilson in the ring. Aleister Black had a little segment earlier on with his screen card and all that, saying he was due up a fight in the show, which I thought, if you're going to do that, and also the fact that we already knew John Cena was facing R-Truth, and that would have been the main event, that didn't need to happen. It didn't make sense just to interrupt a match when we already knew that match was coming at the end of the night.
In the segment take place, and I'm with you. I quite like Aleister Black. I like his presentation. But for me, when I first saw this, I was like, I don't like this interaction. This is just wasted TV time. Yeah. However, they did link to it later, and when we come on to it, I'll explain to you why I changed my mind in the end.
Is that the backstage segment? Because that was after the match. Obviously, we had Aleister Black confronting Truth, basically saying, "Why are you getting into my business?" And then Damian Priest interrupts and says, "Let me speak to Truth." And basically says to Truth to chill out a bit. You used to be the guy that made everyone smile around here. Save all your anger for the ring for Cena later, and then we can go out and celebrate after.
When the Damien moment came up, there was a happiness on one side and almost the switch to look so serious, so I'm ready to cause carnage. So I like that they're going to play into this. What I will say is the interaction between Alistair Black and R-Truth tells me that they're probably going to have a program down the line, and that could be good fun.
Yeah, because obviously we can't have Cena Truth for the next 6 months. They've got to move it on at some point. And the way Truth or Ron or whoever is over at the moment, he's going to need programs, and I think that's a good program to step into next.
Kip Wilson, for being essentially just a short amount of TV time, but it sets up an angle down the point. But much like you, as we said earlier, the promo with the Alistair Black thing, that annoyed me. But it wasn't the only time to be annoyed about something that they showed and it didn't happen.
Next up, we had Cody's music hit. He enters the ring, about to speak. Then Jay come out and then had a little conversation with Cody. They saying how we're friends, but business is business. So come Monday, we've got to get ours each. Then that come out with Sammy, and then followed by Orton. A couple of interesting points here. Cody never said a word, which I thought was very interesting. They didn't give him one spot to speak. And Sammy mentioned about when it was just Cody, Sammy, Jane win, he realises he's the only one out of the three not to have won a world championship, which I thought was quite an interesting statement to put in there.
Yeah. Okay. With you, very important point with Cody not speaking. So this is my second bugbear. Is Cody was advertised to speak and he never said a word. I'm really worried. Really, really worried. They're prepping for a Cody heel turn. So if you're going to push Jay a little further down the card, these two are neck and neck for me for the biggest pops in the building. And you're going to turn him heel now? No, this is not going to work.
Are they turning him on Monday?
No, not at all. I think if they're going to turn him, it's going to be Crown Jewels. And I think he's going to cost, because I think Jay beats Cody on Monday, and I think Cody lashes out and costs Jay the King of the Ring.
I said it brought Orton down. Again, like you said last week, Orton very playful. Picks up on Jay's little catchphrase when he says 3 letters, 1 move. Obviously led into the Orton Sammy match. Because of Sammy's little statement in that little promo, I actually thought Sammy was going to win. But he didn't.
Yeah, me too. I thought he was going to win because I had my brain going, well, that's it. That's how Sammy then wins it all, and that's how we protect everybody. Yep, love it. Great. Again, another solid match. SmackDown really hit all the high notes that you needed for good matches that went about the right amount of length. I like the fact that Sammy manages to kick out of 2 RKOs before it's the third one, which he cops. I especially like the counter from a RKO into the Blue Thunder Bomb. That worked for me. But the missing of the Haluva kick, I think, is a big, important point.
To that segment, we had Nia Jax come to the ring to call out Tiffany, basically saying she felt betrayed because she took Tiffy under a win and now Tiffy's acting like this. This called Tiffy to come out. Nia Jax attacks Tiffy and then causes Naomi's music to hit, and it's like we're about to have a cash in. Again, like last week, Nia pulls Naomi out, tells her she's not cashing in, and then Tiffany kicks the briefcase into both of them and does her escape. Again, overall, what do you think of this segment?
I'm in a really weird place for this because I know the other week I said I'm possibly wearing a little bit on Tiffany. I think she comes across as a good champion, and I like her. I also like the work that Nia Jax does. I think she is another one that goes under the radar a little bit. My problem
Sorry
is...
to interrupt, one point I missed out. Tiffy announced a last woman standing match for next week's SmackDown. So that was the point of the whole...
I think I'm done with their matches, though. If this last man standing match, it should have had a stipulation where after the last man standing, these 2 women just move away from each other, because they've had so many matches of late, so many like to and fro's, that I need to see something different from the women. So the last women standing match is a great idea. I just hope it's the last one that we have with the pair of them for a while.
Do you think they're setting up for Naomi cash-in, or they're just making that look obvious, like Naomi? Because with that stipulation, someone's going to be knocked out, which you would think is the perfect opportunity for a Money in the Bank holder to come and cash in. But that just looks too obvious.
Yeah, I think that one's a paint by numbers. I think she's going to cash in. I think that's the way in which you get around it. I think Tiffany wins the match, but then gets cashed in on.
After that, they announced, and I didn't write these down, but they announced what was coming for next week's SmackDown. And that stacked. There's a lot of title matches on the even Night of Champions. And I think maybe because of the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournament, those matches would have been on Night of Champions if it's just a normal. Because they have to do the final of the tournament, I think we're getting a lot of it on SmackDown. It does look like it's going to be an interesting show next week.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to the Selena Vega Julia match. That match could be like top level all the way. I'm a little bit confused with the tag team decision. The Street Profits, I thought the White Six would have to go through more of them. I was expecting almost them to go through Fraxium next week, to then go through DIY, to then end up with the Street Profits. I think, I think we're rushing this a little bit.
Yeah, but again, like I keep saying every week, it might just be down to scheduling why they've got to pack and move people in quicker than maybe they would have done if we just had the normal amount of PLVs in the year. I don't know. But I agree with you. It does seem a bit too rushed. After that little package, we had Chelsea Green versus Charlotte. I thought it was quite a solid match. I quite enjoyed Charlotte in this match. I'm not usually a big fan of Charlotte Flair, but I think she's done well. I also like after the finish when the Secret Service jumped on her, that looked like she legitimately hurt her leg.
So, I was looking forward to this match. I like both wrestlers. I like Charlotte. I know I'm in the minority. I actually think she's really good. But with the interaction at the beginning, I was like, if they're looking to turn her face, and a link with Alexa Bliss is where they would go with that, she's got to lose this match. Whether she loses via a DQ or a cheat, she's got to lose this match so that it looks like she needs help. The finish for me, I mean, the finish is fine because Chelsea Green immediately, as soon as she's in a submission hold, she taps immediately. It's her character. Yeah. But the Secret Service coming in afterwards made sense. I assume at some point either we get a tag match or a handicap match where it's Alexa and Charlotte versus Chelsea.
After the attack, which I didn't mention, then Bliss came out and helped Charlotte, went to shake Charlotte's hand, and Charlotte just blanked her and walked off.
I think we're either leaning towards a tag match where we'll attempt, and I say the words attempt, to turn Charlotte face. If that's the case, she's got to take more of a beating. She's got to look weaker than she has done before. Or we're setting up for what will be a Charlotte versus Alexa match, probably Evolution, which will be outstanding.
I actually think we are going. I think we're going for a one-on-one at Evolution, which then leads to them teaming up as a tag team. Led into a backstage segment again with Solo and JC Mateo. Solo's about to go out and speak to Jacob. He tells JC to hand back because Jacob won't speak to him because he knows how to handle Jacob, basically. Goes out to the ring, has their little interaction. Jacob comes out and basically says, no, right, you used me for power and fame and all this stuff, and head about Solo. What do you think of the segment overall? Sets up United States Championship match for Crown Jewel or Night of Champions, sorry. So yeah, overall, what did you think?
I liked it. Mostly. I like the match. I think the match is going to be golden. I think both guys are great in the ring.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just say, though, seeing what the SmackDown card is stacked, I think that could have been a SmackDown match, and one of those matches could have been on Night of Champions. I think it's a good match, but I don't know if it's a... I know it's a Night of Champions match because it's a United States title, but I just think where they're at building the story, it could have headlined SmackDown next week instead. So I liked it, but I don't think it's big enough, in my opinion.
You see, now this is where you and I are definitely different, because I did think it should be on the card. I think we've had enough build for it to work. My biggest concern is that it's obviously going to be a shenanigan ending, but I think we're going to long this feud out for a while.
Yeah, because you thought this was coming at SummerSlam, didn't you?
I did. But I think the fact that Jimmy Uso came out.
I was speaking about Jimmy last week, weren't I? Saying, like, what's next for him? And then this is obviously where they're heading.
Yeah, I think so. I believe Hikuleo is joining Solo Sikoa's group, so they'll go back to 3 again. And then also you've got the Tongans due back at any point, so they're going to be strong very shortly.
I think, because obviously when we spoke last week, we were saying there was rumours of the Usos reuniting, but do you think because of WWE are sort of sticking with Jay's the singles, they needed to chuck Jimmy with someone because they're pivoting on their plans?
That could be a reason. I just think, I mean, Jimmy is a good guy to have around, like as a, I don't want to say a jobber because I don't think that's fair on him. He'll have a good match, but he's also around for interacting. He had that great role for R-Truth ages ago. I think that will come back. I think keeping him with Jacob shows that they've got long-term plans for them both. I wouldn't be surprised if they both became tag team.
So that led into the Reed LA Knight match. Quite a solid match, but we had our first DQ finish when Baker come in and speared Knight, and then that led into 2 tsunamis.
It's the kind of match you'd expect. Like Bronson Reed's a big guy. He got some of his strong moves off. LA Knight hit his signatures. It would be what I expect, and I'll be honest, it was the finish I was expecting too. I didn't expect Bronson to like beat him clean. I think WWE have made that abundantly clear. That's not the way they're going to go. And by showing that, I think what you set up for main event would be LA Knight versus Bron Breakker. As I said, if you're going to build towards the Seth Rollins SummerSlam match, I'd have him face Bron Breakker at main event.
Yeah, I think they've done this to get LA Knight away from Night of Champions, where Seth's going to be, because he's had 2 speeds and 2 tsunamis. He's got to be written off TV for a bit, or that takes away what Reed's tsunamis are. Because if I know Seth took 5, but that took Seth off for like 6 to 7 weeks, and then you can't have LA Knight take 2 speeds and 2 of these, and then we see him again on Friday going, "Hi, yeah, I'm going to go and get him." So I think we won't see LA Knight now until after Night of Champions. That then made me think the beginning of the night was pointless.
How you get around that?
Okay.
LA Knight cost Seth a cash-in, and that makes everything that's happened the whole last couple of weeks make more sense.
No waste the cash in on doing that when it's Seth's easy route to the title.
Seth's going to the title anyway. He doesn't need the cash in. Plus, as we both said, Naomi's cashing in. She's going to carry the belt. You don't need 2 successful cash-ins. A non-success would be interesting.
Yeah, very true. I agree. But I'm not too sure that they're going to go that way. But if they do that, as you said, that does make a lot of sense. Then that led into the main event, which I think everyone knew about other than R-Truth, because he was calling for it halfway through the night. But we had Truth versus Cena. Got their little bits of moves in, and then obviously Cena decides he wants to leave, and that's when Mr. CM Punk comes.
I think it's worth mentioning, when I looked at my timer to see how long was left when the main event happened, we were looking between, I think it was 25 minutes left, and I thought there's no way these guys are going to go at 25 minutes. Johnny's struggling to probably get an 8-minute match out without a good opponent. Ronnie's 53. He's not a young man. But the way they started the match had me thinking maybe they could do it. I like the fact that Ron Killings went back to his old school attack. He wasn't doing all the John Cena moves like he has been of late. He went and started doing some of his old moves. I think that helped him develop himself as an individual. My issue here is to do the ending on the rampway. That was my big concern.
Okay, why?
If you're going to do that, do it in front of more people, have more eyes on the prize, have it in the center of the ring where everyone can watch it. Halfway up the rampway, there are a lot of people in that stadium that wouldn't have seen that as a finish. And if I'd have been in the crowds, I'd have been disappointed.
You know, very true. It was more for the TV audience, wasn't it, than the arena audience. So we've obviously got Truth, technically, a win over John Cena, which is good
Yep.
for Ron Kinnings. And then obviously that led into CM Punk coming in the ring. John's putting through his new tag team partner, the Slim Jim Table. And then that led into Pipe Bomb 2.0. So John's reenactment of CM Punk's 2011 Pipe Bomb. I think I want to say that he was that year.
Yeah, he referenced the 14 years. I'm going to mention the table. Do we have to have everything sponsored by something? If I see a table, it's going to be crushed. I don't care who supports it. Let's just have the table there. To have a gimmick table with a name on it it's gonna drive me mad.
I think we had Papa John's bringing us the last woman standing match next week on the graphics, so everything's just going to be brought to us by something. It's Netflix, isn't it? So...
If that's the case and the last women's standing match doesn't involve pizza, I'm going to be absolutely mortified.
Exactly. Don't put the pizza on there if you're not going to feed. So anyway, getting back to actual things, what did you think of this this promo?
I was watching it. It's quite warm here, and I was watching it, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm feeling a little bit dozy." I was awake very quickly. I liked it. I think it helped. It's probably John's best promo in well over 20 years, without a doubt. He has shown he's up there. The references to both AEW to TNA, I think it's GCW, all involved. That's crazy. They're obviously people he gets along with. I didn't realise he was friends with Claudio Castagnoli.
Yeah.
Matt Cardona doesn't surprise me. And
Nick does, because of obviously he's an ex of Nikki's, and I know John was a little bit umming and erring. I don't know, obviously Divas is a pre-fin show, but they were hinting at some points that there was still something going on between Nikki and Nick while she was with John. So I was a little bit sure. I thought they had a little bit of a hate.
I don't think so. He's a guy that shouldn't have been got released. I'd love to see Dolph Ziggler back. I think that's the way it goes. The fact that he's thriving elsewhere, I'm pleased for him.
I like the green salad reference. Yeah, I like the green salad reference because that's having a go at everyone on Reddit, because all the John Cena pictures on Reddit are green salad. I like the fact that he said he was a bit jealous of Punk. I like the fact that he had balls to call him a bullshitter. And then even when he then went, oh, look, John Cena said a cuss word, the show's gone chaotic or whatever. Thought brilliant, because, you know, that's how the internet... He played into what the internet is going to say about that promo. And the real thing at the end, and I don't know if this was scripted or not, but the fact that he dropped the mic and then went back in and then said, oh, yeah, one more thing, thanks for letting me reference your promo to make you look more like an idiot. It was like he was lifting the curtain by saying, we've obviously agreed for me to do this Pipe Bomb 2.0, that's now going to make you look more like an idiot. And I thought that was like a little bit of a real dig, which obviously we know Punk's going to take because we know the amount of respect they've got for each other. But I also think that line wasn't planned. And I think that's just great. Like, as you said, it's just John at his best, and it shows he's got balls. And I wish we saw this years ago. It's just so gutting that we've got 6 months of this left.
I know, right? Why didn't we see this years ago when we were craving this? This is the John Cena we needed for him to be considered the GOAT. Why has it taken his final year when he's not got the wrestling ability he had, say, 10 years ago, when it would have been more of an impact? This is what's infuriating about me. He's showing his case. I like the fact that he says, I actually really like you. I like that you can do this. This is this. The references about he's got more friends in the than the locker room
Yeah,
was absolutely fantastic. I can imagine they did have a conversation. I can't believe this was as off script as possible. I imagine there was like, right, what things can I not mention? And I'm glad he didn't mention his relationship because I think that one's coming back to bite him in the arse later
yeah.
on in the
And
week.
one good thing as well that I really like John did very respectfully when he, because you don't see him Punk in the first pipe bomb when about being the best in the world. Cena said, "You say you're the best in the world. I say I'm the greatest of all time." So he didn't go, "Actually, I'm the best in the world." So he's still letting Punk keep that best in the world line because he's going around saying he's the GOAT. And I thought that was nice because it still shows the mutual respect in the underlying things of things because he didn't try and take his line off of him, saying, "Actually, I'm the greatest of all time." Where Punk had a program Jericho, and that's what they were fighting over. But it was nice that John's kept it separate.
I'm going to make this thing. I think there's a possibility that Punk beats Cena at Night of Champions.
I kind of agree because I can't see like this build up going anywhere else. But I think Cena gets it back, maybe SummerSlam or whatever, or he does. He doesn't really need the belt.
No, I agree. I'm with you. I think you put the belt back on him immediately afterwards, maybe the night after on Raw or something. But I think I see Punk beating him, and it's just great. I love this. This is brilliant to me.
And this it does take us back 10, 15 years ago because this is what we was watching then. Two masters of their trade at work. Okay, they're going to be a bit more slow because they're both getting old. But I think, as we said last week, they have got the storytelling abilities in the ring. It may be a 8 to 10 minute match. There may be lots of staring. There might be a lot of floor work with submission holds just to not keep it fast paced. But yeah, I think we're going to get a shock. As you said, I think Punk, that helps, I think, leads to Punk and Seth for a title match, maybe at SummerSlam. But I am looking forward to Night of Champions just for this match. I think Asuka's won Queen of the Ring. I think, like you said, Cody's going to cost Jay, or Jay's going to win and Cody's going to turn. So that's sort of given. Quite intrigued with Cena Punk. So yeah, I thought great way to end the week.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
And I actually didn't think they would pull that out of the bag, like even think about doing another pipe bomb. So that come out completely left field as well, which I thought made it even more. And the fact he sat on the ropes, instead of the aisle, I still didn't exactly know what was going on when he was sitting on the ropes. So it weren't until he said that line, until he said the line, "I hope you're sitting the most as comfortable as you can be." I thought, this is where we're going now.
Yeah, I like the fact that he mentions the fourth wall as well. It's just a popular reference. I love it. I think we're going to go somewhere with it. And as I'm with you, I'm looking forward to Night of Champions.
And I think John looked like he was having a good time. He was laughing. I think he got a little bit emotional when they were saying thank you. Because I think, in a way, that promo is the promo that turned Punk face. They do run the risk by John doing the exact same sort of promo of doing that. But I think we're at the stage now, it doesn't really matter. Because I think we know, because I've seen a lot of interviews with John outside, and he will not talk about what he's doing on TV as in wrestling, but he still gives off a face persona for the media, if you know what I mean, away from the wrestling. So he's separating. You've got John Cena outside the ring, and you've got John Cena heel when he's at work. So I think the fans know that anyway. So I don't think it matters where we like the heel work, but I don't think it matters where he is. So,
do you know we might end up getting face Cena versus heel Cody for the belt? Yeah. And bearing in mind that was the original plan back at like Elimination Chamber, that would be unreal to be we're like 6-7 months down the line, and that's what we're looking at.
Well, going into that, it's time to pick Tim's top talent of the week. So, Tim, who are you choosing this week?
Well, right up until like the last half hour of SmackDown, I was going to give it to Asuka for a great return and great work. But unfortunately, John Cena stole the show. his mic work was fantastic. So yes, he's my star of the week.
And the fact that we've got Night of Champions review coming up next week, he could get the hat trick because you gave it to him last week as well.
Yeah, he could really win it all.
Well, Tim, thank you so much, and have a great week. And I look forward to our question coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll see you Tuesday, Lee. Take it easy.